The pressure in the game you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well, God, Johnny Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the war court today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge to the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the 308th episode of Treaty Talk. Tom Clancy is my name, and I'm joined as ever by Matt O'Callaghan, who writes for the Weekly Observer and Vale Star newspapers. Matt, the fog has come upon us. Hopefully we'll get through plenty of action in the coming days, but we're very much coming to the business end now of 2024, as in terms of the conclusion of all the grades and all the teams. So it's really down to the dying embers of what has been a thrilling year.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose every good thing comes to an end. It was very, very exciting. And it only looks like about a couple of weeks ago since we were previewing the start of the championships. It has flown by, but you're just talking about the fog there. That's becoming a bit of a new nuisance now, fog, because I remember you and I, we were both in Mallow last year for the first round of was it the second round of the...
It would have been the very start of this year, wouldn't it? It would have been about the 5th or the 6th of January or something like that.
The now defunct Munster Senior Hurling League, and it was fogged off, and...
becoming a more common team, unfortunately. We've had the 20s game, I think Gary Spillane a couple of weeks ago was fogged off as well.
So it's a new nuisance, let's say.
It is. I said the business end. We've plenty to get through over the next hour. We're looking at the 20s hurling. We'll look at a bit of schools, colleges, in terms of the small ball. We'll also be looking at football momentarily. We've Mungold, of course, ladies football, flying the flag for Limerick, the only team still going beyond provincial or county and indeed provincial level. Everyone else has fallen, but Mungold's still going. So we'll come to that in a couple of minutes. And we'll also be chatting Camogie, a bit of a review of the year that was in Camogie at both club and inter-county level, and maybe a brief look into the future in terms of 2025 and beyond for Limerick Camogie. So we'll be joined by a couple of special guests in the next few minutes for that one. Matt, I think we'll start with football this week. I mentioned Limerick teams flying the flag. Kappa were representing Limerick in the men's football, of course, having won the Premier Junior Championship a couple of weeks back. They went down to Tralee, met Friaries, who we were expecting would be very, very strong. It proved that way. And Kappa, I suppose, unfortunately for them, well beaten on the afternoon in Tralee.
Yeah, they were well beaten, Tom. But, if you go behind the scenes as to what exactly happened in it, first of all, you factor in the final score was 317 to 211, if I'm correct, which is a 9 points margin. And, you've got to factor in that Fiery's got a goal with the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
And the main thing was that Kappa were so slow out of the blocks, It was as if they mistook the starting time because the Fieries had gone into, was it a 1-6 to 1 point lead?
Yeah.
When Kappa eventually found their feet, and had closed the gap, and they closed it pretty well in the third quarter as well. But from early on, I suppose it was very clear that Kappa weren't going to progress to the final. But certainly I think they did themselves credit, Tom, because if you remember, this is a Fieries team that scored, a huge win over the Waterford champions, Finnar. Was it 5-19 to 5 points or something like that?
Yeah, obliterated them, didn't they? Yeah.
Obliterated them altogether. But that was never going to happen to Kappa, and... I would love if Kappa, had got out of the blocks earlier. They would have certainly made it a very, very interesting game. But this was a chance for, Kappa to bench themselves, for what may be coming down the tracks next year at intermediate level. And if this was an audition for that, or if it was a pre-test for it, to a certain degree, Tom, you'd have to say they passed it.
Yeah. No, they show quality
because-
going forward, obviously, but sometimes we've seen Limerick teams play Kerry teams at this grade and even struggle to kick half a dozen scores. They managed to pick the last times. Yeah, that's more often than not at this grade that would be very, very competitive. But ultimately, it was they were. I suppose they gave away too many scores early on. You mentioned the slow start,
it was the slow start and the concession of the goal at the very end, in my view, has totally distorted what the final result might have been.
Yeah,
and full credit to Kappa. Like they've had a marvelous year. They've had a very long year now, Tom.
Yeah.
And I'm not apologist for them or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, like, an awful lot of the Kappa players, like it has been a huge year for them, because you could say for many of them, it was a double. Winning the hurling with Croke Kilfinney and winning the football with Kappa, and then having to go into the Munster Championship. But I think they credited themselves pretty well. And as I say, if it was a test for the greater challenges that they're going to meet in 2025 at intermediate level, they passed it.
Yeah. No, it's a point well made. Yeah, I think the double success that was paramount in terms of that was what they wanted, and I think maybe the hurling will yield strong out there, and the Croke Kilfinney thing, that was ultimately the goal for if anyone involved in both those goals. If you'd asked them to pick one, they probably would have picked the hurling title, because they've been so close in the last 3 seasons, and four times the charm. Just looking.
Now, we can't hide behind the excuse that they had only 7 days turnaround.
Yeah,
I'm not looking for an excuse, because it was a David and Goliath clash.
Yeah, as it tends to be when Limerick play at that grade. You're looking at it in total, Matt, the 6 men's teams who represented Limerick in hurling and football, 6 games, 6 defeats. It's kind of doesn't read for great. It doesn't make for great reading, does it?
No. At first view, it doesn't. But probing behind the figures. And you have to factor in, Tom, the fact that each of them had a quick turnaround, a week of a turnaround from winning a county.
Yeah, 5 of the 6.
The performance of Doon against, and I see the narrative this week, about Ballygunner being invincible. All that sort of stuff. Had Doon an extra week, we wouldn't be talking about Ballygunner, I think, in the remainder of the championship. We'd be talking about a Munster final.
Yeah.
For Doon.
No. Yeah.
Newcastle West, beaten by a point. You see them with the quick turnaround again. Fina, after losing 3 finals in quick succession last year, 2 in hurling and 1 in football. 1 this year got over the line, a bit like Croke Kilfinney. To lose by 2 points down to Kilrassenty down in Waterford. Had they an extra week, we would have a totally different narrative, Tom.
We would, yeah, we would.
A dare, Keel put up a very creditable performance against Kilshannig.
Yeah, and we just discussed Kappa.
If you take it at face value, 6 games played, 6 games lost, dire. But if you probe behind it, it ain't bad.
No, I think a lot of the teams, the 3 hurling teams, certainly got to the 3-quarter mark in a very good position in those games, and not enough fuel in the tank from the weak turnaround, unfortunately. But look, that is the way it finishes for the men's side of the house in Munster Club this season. Look, one of those years as well. I think 4 of the teams are on the road as well, so you can get a bit of luck on that end as well. You'd like to have a home draw as well, as we saw Newcastle West, the only team that truly played a home game, and really should have beaten Cashel, and Cashel are preparing for a Munster final this week themselves. So look, it's one of those years. It won't be remembered for the Munster club, but as I mentioned on the podcast in the weeks after the county finals, breakthrough years for virtually all those clubs. Even Adair now wasn't a breakthrough, but they were coming back. Croke Kilfinney, okay, they didn't go to Munster Club, but they were a breakthrough as well. Fina, you mentioned already there, Matt. Doon, first title. So there was the Munster Club was very, very, very secondary in those minds. Previous years we've had teams that are, Newcastle West and the Piercing, for example, that Munster Club would have been in their long-term plans, but everyone else this year that won through, it was a county title, was all they were after, really, So
absolutely, it was the ultimate goal, and you were into an anticlimactic situation after that. But the attitude of I have to say, as a county, we would have to be proud of the attitude of the clubs that represented us in the championships.
Yeah.
Because that attitude was absolutely fantastic. With Pat Ryan in here between the two of them, if you remember.
Yeah, ready for road and
ready for road,
and knew what it meant to play Munster Club. Yeah.
Yeah, the focus had turned, and that was by Wednesday. Now, all right, you'd have preferred if you had another week.
Yeah.
But certainly, the clubs did not let us down, and that has to be said.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, it is just disappointing. We'd love to have seen a Limerick team still going into December or beyond. Yeah. Domestic matters.
But of course,
Matt.
Another thing, Tom, and we're talking about this week. We've been so used to winning All Irelands. One of the perks, the unseen perks that's going with winning an All Ireland, is that you get a bye. You don't have to play a quarter final in the Munster Hurling Championships.
Yeah, exactly. We had that last year with.
We had that last year.
Yeah, and, for the Piercing Fina and who was it? Drummond at Lacka. Yeah, they would have got an extra.
The vagaries of the draw this year only saw that we had only one. We only got a bye in one, which was Kappa.
Yeah, exactly. So they had the break. Domestic matters, Matt. 20s football is it's still going. Now I know a lot of people will look at the lower grades, and there has been an extraordinary amount of walkovers. That's probably a matter we might look at that, Matt. I'm not going to look at it this week, but I think we should look at that in a few weeks when the championships are more or less concluded, and maybe I might love to have actual statistics around it, but it is not good. But the Premier Grade, Matt, has progressed to the last four. Mungret St. Paul's will play Monleen, and Father Cases will play Newcastle West. So first year of the 20s, I can tell you it probably hasn't worked overall. The 21s was probably, I would have certainly, if I had the vote, the casting vote, I would have kept it at 21s. But anyway, here we are. We're at the business end of the 20s Premier Football final. Or Championship.
All this thing that's going on with 20 and 21 and 17 and 18 is a whole load of crap, a whole load of nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Under 18 minors served us well for over a century, or well, going back to 1928. And under 21 served as well, going back to 1964. And what is all this nonsense about? And it basically we're sort of being told it's got something to do with burnout. Yet we change all the provincial championships at underage from knockout to round robin. So where is the knockout? Who's fooling who in this? But we're at the concluding stages of the Limerick Under 20 Championships. Now, the Premier, and I'm taking both codes together now, if that's all right with you, Tom.
Fire away, yeah.
We're down to the concluding stages. We have the Premier Hurling final over. And what a final we got, Tom.
I missed this one, Matt. I've been at so many finals now. I sat this one out, and I regretted it when I was speaking to those at it.
And I'm taking it first because it was a special occasion, and there was a big crowd there, and there were the lucky people that were there because it was a fantastic game. I think at no stage was there anything more than 2 points between the sides. They were level 6 times.
Yeah, they being Monleen the winners and Bruff, unfortunately, the beaten team in this. Yeah.
But Tom, it showcased some extraordinarily young talent. There was an absolute joy to watch, and I hate singling out players, but the Fitzgerald brothers were just simply magnificent. Now, Monleen lined out without Darragh Langan, who was a huge loss to him, and Joseph Fitzgerald, who would normally be a midfielder and a very effective midfielder. He had to slot into the number 6 spot, and he was the captain, and did exceptionally well. Dara Ferland, Ben Hayes, a lot of very, very good players. Tom Bruff, Sean Casey, absolutely outstanding. Owen Meany, restricted with a serious hand injury. But what a talent. Monaghan and Bruff showcased, what is good about Limerick hurling. And if this is what Limerick hurling is all about, Tom, we have a very bright future to look forward to. Full credit to both teams. Desperate sad that there had to be a loser, but there always has to be a loser in a final.
Remind me, Matt, who got the winning score? Go on, give him his moment of glory.
Matthew Fitzgerald.
No surprise there, I would imagine.
No. He's an excellent player, but we just talk for Monaghan for a second, Tom. Under 20 Premier champions, Premier minor hurling champions, Junior A hurling champions, into the quarter final of the Senior Hurling Championship.
Yeah, and
a fantastic year. And we wondered at the start of the year, Tom. And they won the All Ireland clubs in 2022, and they consolidated last year. But we were wondering, and we were saying that consolidation wasn't enough this year. That they had to drive on, and by God, did they drive on. And Tom, you hear it here. There's another notch or two in them. So watch out for Monaghan in the Senior Hurling Championship next year. And they coped. In many ways, the final was robbed of two of its, star cast, Dara Langan on the Monaghan side and Owen Meany on the Bruff side. Now, Owen Meany, to his credit, he played with a serious hand injury. But he was seriously restricted now. There was a very good performance also by Charlie Cronin, and who and Paddy Hennessy, who had remind you are members of the John the Baptist team, which we'll be referencing in a few minutes.
Monaghan so Matt are still on. Just to mention as well, obviously they won the Junior B series as well at All Ireland last year, and they were contested the Junior C final. So it ain't one team. It isn't just one.
It's right across the grades.
That's it. That's why, a bit like we had the longer discussion last week, you have to look at Monaghan in totality and say they're making serious strides. And a lot of these players, Matt, will have to go into the Junior C team or B team. Well, they're Junior A, but they'll have to go across the three teams. They won't all be able to fit into the first team, But
there's three of them key players in the senior team already. And four of them key players. You have Dara Langan if he was available. You have the two Fitzgeralds and Dara Ferland.
Yeah, and there'll be more coming soon. They're driving the standards higher the whole time out there, for themselves.
Yeah. Tom, my reason for asking you to take the two of them together is this. Monaghan had to play a game in the Premier Under-20 Football Championship on Saturday. And then turn out in the hurling final on Sunday.
24 hours in it? Was there even?
Pardon?
Was there even 24 hours in it?
No, they lost the football, but they had already been through. But there is no way that situation should arise. Because they're going into a semi-final now with Mungret. The game that they wanted, their last real competitive game, they were deprived of it because they had to field basically a minor team. And that situation don't ask me what the answer is, but there has to be an answer. This sort of thing cannot happen. I know games are crowding up at the end of the season, but it should not happen to any club.
The answer, Matt, the answer in this case for me is very simple. Today is the 27th of the month. I saw that the year I played under 21s last year I played under 21s, the finals played on Stephen's Day. Now maybe we don't want that.
That's about 25 years ago, Tom.
Yeah, it is the best part of anyway. But what I'm saying is we've often stretched the calendar all the way to the end of the year. Why couldn't the final round of that group have been played today, the 27th, or maybe Friday the 29th or whatever, and then the semi-final being played on the 5th or 6th or whatever day it falls, and the final be played on the 13th, or maybe use a midweek there. Why are we trying to rush it all into the November? Like the whole 20s hurling and football seems to have been played since there's a couple of rounds played in October, very early October, but other than that, it's nearly always been played in this month. Like
It
that's
is.
why that's one of the reasons we're seeing walkovers in football, Matt, because clubs
Yeah, but I was attending the South Convention last night, and the matter was brought up by Patrick English of Galty Gales about the inordinate number of walkovers.
Yeah.
Now, Mike Reardon came up with a suggestion that we've revert back to a losers group competition,
Okay.
which would go some way towards solving it. But a member of the Monaleen Club gave me a very, very interesting formula in Kilmallock last Saturday or last Sunday before the hurling match, when we were discussing the dilemma that they found themselves in the 24 hours, where he suggested that you have teams of 4 in the groups and you play it in January and February without your county players if you have to, and that it be only a seeding process of 1 to 4, and that you straight in when you normally be starting the under-20 championship in the middle of at the beginning of, would say, late October, early November, that you'd be down to a quarter-final stage, and then the clubs would be seeded
so
at that stage. And I think I reflected on it many times since, and I spoke to other people about it since, and it's a bloody good idea.
Yeah, you'll be coming back at this time of year to play 3 games basically in both codes. So you'd need 6 games.
Correct.
Might take you 6 weeks, might take you 5 or 7 weeks, depending on weather and the rest of it. So
you have 3 weeks.
Yeah, you know what I mean. If you're say Monaleen, take for example, if they got through, or they would be through. Sorry, if they were in a quarter final in the hurling and the football, so they might play every alternating weeks for 6 weeks until they got knocked out or won it out or whatever the case may be. Yeah, no,
you'll be over by mid-December.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I could see with that, and I know you mentioned that to me yesterday when we were just chatting ourselves, I'd say there'd be a pushback from schools potentially, but as you say, there wouldn't be a knockout element to those competitions. You've played them. We have a lot of venues now with lights. You can play them on AstroTurf or on lights in the springtime, whether it is January, February, or March. The players prefer that to training. And if lads are 19 or 20 and they're trying to get onto the adult team, what better way for them than to go out and play in a competitive match, get themselves up to speed, and then they can tie in them with their adult team.
I think it's a damn good idea worth exploring.
Yeah, I know I see a hell of a lot of positives to it. But back to the task at hand, Mungret St. Paul's and Monaleen, an all city affair in one semi-final, and as I said, Father Casey's and Newcastle West, familiar foes in the other one in the 20s Premier Football Championship. Yeah,
familiar foes, but it's a one where form goes out the window, like with their huge record of success at minor level.
That was last year's 19s final, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to form, you'd have to fancy Newcastle West, but sorry, Father Casey's, but you just don't know, and you just don't know at this time of the year, because clubs may be down people with continuous assessment and exams and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Look, games between Monaleen and Mungret, Tom, they can go either way.
Yeah,
these are now emerging. Monaleen and Mungret are emerging as two of the giants of Limerick Gaelic games.
Yeah, in both codes as well.
In both codes, and the trajectory in both clubs is one way, Tom.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, the final, as far as I'm aware, is penciled for the 7th of December, I should say. 7th being the Saturday. In the Bog Garden at the moment, anyway, weather permitting, I'm sure, and all the rest of it. So we'll see. We'll know the pairing next week. Who's in and amongst it. So that's the under 20s Premier Football. Now, I think Matt, we'll just to conclude the 20s in terms of you mentioned. We'll just finish off the 20s hurling. The A final takes place this weekend. It's an all East affair. Semi-finals played last Sunday and last Monday, and winning through Ahan defeated Gary Spillane on Monday evening, and about 24 hours earlier. Murboher got the better of near enough neighbours Cappamore, so we have Murboher against the hand in the final.
Yeah, it's like it reflects very well in the state of hurling in the East at this stage, that you had 3 East teams in the last 4, and like the 2 teams that have gone through, Tom, they're gone through on the back of convincing semi-final victories.
And ran away with it on Monday evening, didn't they?
They did 221 to 16 points. Marubor beat Cappamore 119 to 113. Like, no doubt at all about it. The two best teams in the competition are in the final. And it's going to be a very interesting final now. It was originally fixed for 1 o'clock in June on Sunday, Tom, but it's now gone back to 3:30.
Okay.
That's very
I hadn't
important.
spotted that change. Yeah, 3:30, so Sunday.
3:30 in June on Sunday. That's a very important message. And, you know, being an all-East affair, you can expect that there'll be an absolutely huge crowd there on Sunday.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so we'll have to run down that one next week and see who claims the A title at under 20 level. Matt, ladies football, a very, very big game in taking place in Strandhill in Sligo, Coolera Strandhill versus Munger St. Paul's in the AIB All-Ireland semi-final. That's at junior level, of course, as we discussed plenty in the last few weeks. Munger claiming the Limerick Intermediate title before going on to collect the Munster Junior crown. So, Matt, they'll be looking to emulate, I think it was Gerald Griffins and Maru Boher who contested finals and indeed won it. Going back in the years, they've already followed their footsteps in Munger, so they're facing a Sligo opposition away from home. But I tell you, Mungers are well sharpened to give this one a right go.
Absolutely, Tom. And I was reading up about Coolera Strandhill, isn't that what they call themselves?
Yeah, Coolera. I think there's more local pronunciation.
You know, whatever the local dialect.
But just outside Sligo's town, is over maybe 10 or 12 miles this side of it. So
if you take it, if you just look at that passage to the semi-final, you'd say, wow, you know, this is a team with pedigree, and that's notwithstanding the huge win they had over Parascales and Parascales Bordeaux, but they got the wrong end of the stick in the draw in Connacht. There's, you know, there's only 5 counties there, but they got to play a quarter final. So they beat the champions of Roscommon in the quarter final, Padraig Pearses. They beat the champions of Mayo, Ahamoy, I think, in the semi-final. And they convincingly beat Father Furses from Galway in the Connacht final.
Right. Before
going on to register the huge score against Paris Bordeaux last weekend in Maastricht, if you don't mind. And you just wonder, what is the benefit of that kind of a game? I'm not so sure, but you know, great trip for the girls, you know, but apart from that, very, very little. But Tom, you know the composition of Munster football, both men's and ladies, and if you have to win anything, you know, you have to beat at least one of Kerry and Cork. Minimum. But Munger St. Paul's, they beat both Kerry and Cork.
On a way soil as well.
Yeah, on a way soil. So their record stands up. Well, their pedigree stands well up with that of Coolera Strandhill. Yeah. So I'm expecting a very good performance from Munger. Munger do not do leaking scores.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just the greatest strength in their game so far, Matt. You said to me, Mallow, they're not probably scoring enough, but by God, they're not conceding an awful lot either.
No, 5 points in the Munster final, 8 points in the county final. And what did they concede to Aberdeen? I'm missing it for the moment.
It was a bit higher. Was it maybe 2-9 or something like that? Right?
Yeah.
They scored plenty themselves that day. Yeah.
Yeah, but they obviously, whatever mistakes they made against Aberdeen, they rectified them again, you know.
Against Middleton, yeah.
And you have some very, very big players. Like Granny McKenna is a huge player. If you have a next Monaghan senior footballer playing at this level, you know, the expectation is high, but she has delivered in every game this year, Tom. You know, Anya Ryan is an excellent captain, you know, and as I pointed out in my preview, you know, if John Horgan needs to close out the game, or if he needs to get a few scores back, you know, he looks at the bench and you see Nan there, Claire Coughlin,
Yeah.
and Yvette Cullen, with the vast experience that they have. You saw them coming on in the Munster final.
Hmm.
They
Well,
got a point.
they kicked the 2 winning scores, Matt. So that'll tell you.
Two winning scores, but to have that depth of experience, like, it's something you can buy.
Yeah.
You know, to have that in the bench, like, they're in a very, very strong place. I am more than hopeful that Mungret will secure an All-Ireland final place.
Yeah, I was looking at the Roll of Honour. Like, okay, it doesn't ever follow the same routine, but like last year, the winners were from Skibbereen, County Cork, Donovan Rassa. Cork teams are littered over the Roll of Honour, either finalists or All Ireland finalists, that is now, or winners. You know, if you're beating the Cork team, generally you're either going to win it or you're very, very close. So they have done a bit of lifting among Grit now. They are in Munster, I should say. But they need to obviously find another gear now. Being away from home will be a tough one, but you know, I think they'll relish it all the same.
The overall point I make is beating the champions of Roscommon, Mayo, and Galway, while laudable, it's dwarfed when you talk about beating the champions of Kerry and Cork on their own patch.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, well, wishing John Horgan and indeed Anya Ryan, the captain, and the rest of the team all the best in Strandhill. I'll be heading up the road myself to take that one in, and hopefully
you'll have interest in it, Tom.
Small bit, yeah. Just the quiet corner back there, but she taught her everything I know, but nothing on the defensive side of things. But anyway, that's my sister Maureen. So we'll see how that one plays out. Saturday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. throw-in. It's game set to be streamed as well for anyone interested. They can tune in. They might have to listen to me, unfortunately, but that's a small price to pay for getting to witness the All-Ireland semi-final. Okay, Matt, we'll come to Camogie in momentarily, but just to bring, I suppose, hurling front and centre again, the Junior B Series, Matt, is about to throw in back in West Limerick. So this competition, I know you have great time for it. It's something I've never actually managed to fit into my schedule at this time of year, but it's a big event in Rahena and surrounding areas.
Yeah, it is, and I'm really looking forward to it on Sunday. And it has been graced by former great players in the past: Kevin Broderick of Galway, Redzar O'Grady of Tipperary, and this year is going to be no exception, because on Sunday, none other than Dan the Man Shanahan from Waterford is expected to turn out with Lismore when they play Buttevant in a Munster quarter-final doubleheader. Now there's a Leinster quarter-final on Saturday.
Yeah,
but there's a Munster a doubleheader Munster quarter-final. Our own Kildimo Palace Kennery are in action at 12 o'clock when they play St. Brendan's from Kerry. You know, I would be very, very hopeful that Kildimo Palace Kennery will get over that first hurdle, because I have good hopes for them in this competition.
Trying to follow the Mona Leon's path from last year, obviously, as well.
Well, not follow it exactly, because Mona Leon lost the Munster final, but they won the All-Ireland, which was the big one, you know.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to mention that, but they did have their success, obviously.
So I would, you know, and Bruff went very, very near they won the Munster and almost won the All-Ireland.
Yeah. So
we have been there or thereabouts now in the last couple of years. But I'd be very, very hopeful of Kildimo Palace Kennery getting off to a good start. And then that's on at 12 noon, Tom.
Right.
And the second quarter final is between Lismore and Buttevant from Cork. Now, Buttevant are only down the road, and you know, when it comes to motivation to win this competition, Buttevant won't certainly be short of it, because their neighbours, Doneraile, Shanbellamore, Kilwullen, have all won it. So in terms of the Kilidi tournament, Buttevant are a bit of outliers. So they will want to put that right. But it'll be very, very interesting, and to see Mr. Shanahan in action in West Limerick will be, you know, reason for fans to turn out, and it's a slack day in hurling, so there's no better way than drop into Kilidi, and you'll get plenty hurling, plenty hospitality, and a great day's entertainment.
Yeah, it's the Michael Fitzmaurice Memorial Cup that they're playing for. Cork have won it 6 times. You mentioned some of the winners there. Tipperary also with 6, Limerick with 5, and the men from the Banner, which just won. But Drummond Inch were the winners last year against Monaleen. So obviously Kildare Pallaskenry, as you say, Matt, want to take a similar route, but a little bit of a better one en route to that. Okay, Matt, we'll I think we're joined by our Camogie guest now, so we'll just come back to the remaining items on our hurling agenda, and we've just a bit of convention chat later in the piece. But we'll just be joined momentarily to talk Camogie with Marian Quinn and Emer Kenny. Now we are going to turn our attention to Camogie for the next little while, and I suppose a lot of the Camogie championships domestically have now concluded. We're down to last bits and pieces between minor and the 12-a-side competitions. But what a year it's been for Limerick Camogie, and I'm sure Matt will reiterate that in a minute. But we're delighted to say we're joined by Emer Kenny, the PRO of Limerick Camogie, and we're joined by Marian Quinn, the chairperson of Limerick Camogie. Marian, Emer, Conasatoshiv, how are you this evening?
Oh, Tamagama.
Good now.
Welcome, ladies.
Yeah, that's the limit of my Irish there, Marian. So I hope I got it right. I probably didn't. I probably got something wrong there in the middle. But yeah, okay. Matt is never a fan of the Irish, but well, great to have you on. Great to have you on for a chat around Limerick Camogie in terms of, obviously, as I said there, domestically, and indeed at intercounty. What a year it's been in terms of we're delighted, myself and Matt, we reiterated last week to be MCs for your event in the Woodlands, your proud sponsors obviously a couple of weeks ago, to celebrate the 16A Munster and All-Ireland, and then indeed the junior Munster title. Marian, I put it to you first. Those successes, they had to be celebrated, and I mean they really should not be ignored across the county. What an achievement by all involved across those two teams, from start to finish.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, look, an amazing achievements throughout the year, and it was fantastic coming together in the Woodlands. And I mean, the two management teams did a brilliant job in terms of putting together that event, and they had a kind of great organising committee for it. Because I suppose all too often we do forget to celebrate the wins as you're kind of plugging along, you know, with the day-to-day organising the fixtures and kind of seeing who's where and all the rest of it. It's so easy to forget that, but it is hugely important for the players because they've put a huge amount of effort into it. You know, particularly the under-16s. I mean, they've really been consumed by it. I think Diarmuid identified last year, you know, when the girls won the Munster, that you know, there was a step up needed, you know, in terms of kind of strength and conditioning and you know, that kind of thing. And this year they really went at it, and so yeah, absolutely, rightly celebrated then for them. So it's great.
Yeah, Emer, some people may know you're often behind the tweets and the posts on social media, and you keep us all very well informed. And I genuinely, sincerely compliment you on those. It's not an easy task to do. Take us back to I think you were. I'm pretty sure you were at both those finals in terms of the Munster Junior one and the 16A All Ireland. Like history, especially for the 16s, never been done before, as Matt correctly tells us time and again. Great day in Nolan Park for all concerned with that one.
Yeah, no, it was a great day, and I mean, like, the girls did seriously well against a tough Galway side. But like that, to see Limerick lift a trophy, like we're used to seeing the lads lifting them all the time at this stage, but to see Orna Barrett climb the steps in Nolan Park was unbelievable, and just to see like the outpouring, I suppose, the joy from the players and the management and all their families and everything was fantastic. And I mean, at that age, under 16, you know, I don't know, do the girls realise kind of the achievement that they've actually had, like this, to win All Ireland, to win a Munster. For some of those girls, it was their second Munster, obviously. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. And I mean, even the reaction we got on social media, like the phone was blown up for 2 or 3 days afterwards of people like retweeting and commenting and whatever, which is fantastic. And I mean, that's the promotion that you want. The same with the junior girls out in Sean Tracy's in Bearcross on the bank holiday Monday, and like, it wasn't the greatest day weather-wise, but again, crowd came out, and I suppose in different Nolan Park, where you're kind of further away from the field, with the junior game, you were like nearly on the field where the stand is in Tracy's. But again, fantastic, like, you're willing the girls over the line again, played a tough Cork side, and to come away with silverware was fantastic. But again, just to see that, I don't know, I suppose level of relief from the girls and from the management and their parents and partners, who obviously are there through everything, is great. And it is the promotion. And while I can do all I can say behind the phone, whatever, like, when you're winning things, it's so much easier, I suppose, to push that, to promote it. You have the images, you have the, you know, when you're going out to clubs to talk about it, they're going like, this is what you're aiming for. this is what we can do. And like that, to have a night like Sunday night, say 2 weeks ago, and to have the cups there and the silverware there, and the likes of John Kiley, Aisling Conlon, like to come out and to talk and to tell the girls that like they are the benchmark for Limerick Camogie. Like that 16s team are no pressure on them, but they are the future of Limerick Camogie, and it's essential that I suppose we as a county keep that group together and provide them with the very best as they walk along. But yeah, no, both days were absolutely fantastic, and as I said, it's great to see and great that I was able to give them that promotion. I suppose they did all the hard work on the field, and only great that they have to get it online as well, I suppose.
Yeah, very good. Matt?
Marian, obviously the under-16 was absolutely fantastic. It was one of the greatest days for me with Limerick Camogie, right up there with 2014 when we won 3 All-Irelands and when we won a first ever minor A All-Ireland, and did it the hard way. Had to go to replay, drew with Cork and Kilmallock, then went to Charleville and beat them pretty comprehensively. But the win of the under-16s, and like just to put it into context, we were beaten last year in the All-Ireland minor shield final by Antrim. We won the All-Ireland, we won the Munster under-16A for a historic first time. This year we retained the Munster under-16A and went on to win the All-Ireland A. That suggests that there is a burgeoning pool of young talent out there. Does that present extra challenges to the county board in terms of ensuring that the girls are kept and that there is a pathway there for them to play senior camogie?
Oh, absolutely, it does, Matt. I mean, look, it's a brilliant problem to have. Because I suppose more and more people have been coming involved. I mean, it's the hurling effect. Camogie has been a growing sport. We've got kind of younger players who want to play for the county. Only there a couple of weeks ago, with 190 under 13 coming in to UL, wanting to try out for the 14 team. We'd similar for the 15s and all the rest of it. And I suppose they now see the success that these girls have had. The Munster last year, and with the Munster and the All Ireland this year, and they're like going, okay, we want to be that person. They can identify with them. But as has been identified, we do keeping the players together and making sure that they have what they need to have. So such as the strength and conditioning and the availability of the pitches, the kind of food, all that kind of comes with an elite environment. And what we've been trying to do is to kind of mimic what's been happening in terms of the boys' academy, in terms of kind of what they have and the standard of coaching and preparedness that they have, because all the other counties are kind of bringing that's what they're bringing to the table. And we've got a limited pool in terms of the number of players we have. We've got 30 clubs, 29 of those which have kind of underage players. And in order to be able to bring it, we need to continuously give the girls the best. So that they are going to be able to kind of step up and kind of join on board with the rest of them. So we had, 2 very good years with the minors, so just coming beforehand, and now we've got this with the 16s. And it's costly. So in terms of making sure that they have what they need, we kind of struggle in terms of getting sponsorship. We're absolutely blessed. I mean, we could not exist without Fitzgerald's in the Woodlands, for the amount of support that they give in terms of the food for the players, what was in the junior team and the senior team, and that allows us not to have to worry about that in our budget, so that we can kind of give them to the younger age groups and to be able to kind of provide them for what we need. And I suppose this year we've been so lucky in terms of the JP McManus Benevolent Fund. They kind of came aboard and they were able to kind of give us support so that we could get that strength and conditioning going for players and kind of put some of those structures in place. But it certainly isn't enough, and every year is costing more. We're having after this tonight, we're having a budget meeting, with our treasurer, just to see exactly what we can put in place for the year. Because without that, we're not going to be able to be competitive. We're not going to be able to kind of perform at that top table. And you have to set these foundations so they can feed into the the minor and what will be the under 23 and the senior teams.
Emer, first of all, I absolutely welcome this opportunity to publicly tell you to your face my sincere gratitude to you for all you've done for us. You're our first port of call, and anytime you ring Emer Kenny's number or you text her or you email her, you receive an listening ear and an immediate reply. And for that, we're for eternally grateful to you. You've done a magnificent job, Emer, in promoting Limerick Camogie and in liaising with the media. Now, it isn't always very easy for you, and I would like you to talk a bit about this. And we've said it here in this medium a number of times, Tom and I.
Where is the match on, Matt? Is basically the question that we always have for Emer.
This famous overused venue to be confirmed.
TBC. Yeah. What county is that in? We don't know.
Yeah, but is it an AstroTurf or an all-weather pitch that we just don't know about?
Yeah.
But seriously, Emer, it proves to be very difficult for you that you can tell me, you can tell Tom, like when the games are on. Like surely there has to be. And I brought it up with the president of the Camogie Association. Among a lot of things, I brought up with him with his starter even.
Didn't finish his soup, Matt.
It is a serious problem now, and it posing difficulty for us, but it must be an awful difficulty for you.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of if you look at inter-county wise, say if we're playing away from home, like it could be the Thursday that I get a venue, even the Friday that we'd get a venue, and you're playing a Saturday or Sunday. So like, I mean, to promote that game, you're putting up the fixture, the time, the date, but again, like that, it's TBC. And I actually hated emailing you being like, here's the time, which also could change. Here's here's who we're playing, this is the date and the venue. I'll let you know at some point. I know some days it was the Thursday, even the Friday. Look, when we're playing at home, I mean, Caffmore, Jay are fantastic, and when they can have given us the field. We've played in Kilmallock, in McNeville, but like that, I suppose when they're not our fields, our hands are tied in terms of we have no right over them. And if something else comes along, and I won't say something better, but if something else comes along, we're very easy just told go find somewhere else. And obviously it's hard for us to find a field. But definitely in the promotion of the game, it causes a huge barrier because, like, I mean, and the J, like those fixtures come out start of the year, and I know Limerick are playing Cork and Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Limerick are playing Clare in the Gaelic grounds, Limerick are playing Waterford and Walsh Park, they're playing Tipperary in the Gaelic grounds, and I know that's going to be on whatever day at that time, that's where they're playing, and I know that from when they come out. Limerick Camogie, even on the website.
We know the fixtures for the men's. We know the fixtures for the men's properly now in set in stone in the next week or two, like
in the next week or so.
Whereas the only reason they'll change is for TV, maybe, and even then they're probably already picking those for TV now. So
for TV now, but like that, you're able to plan your weekend in terms of what you'll cover and what you can give coverage to, and then the Camogie Association will come. And I'm not. Look, I mean, it said when we don't own the field, we have no right over the field, but it does put an awful lot. It's a huge disadvantage because like that, I can't tell you when I get my fixtures from the get-go to be like, this is it. This is where we're going to be. Definitely will be this time. Definitely we played in this field. Just pencil it in, because it doesn't work like that. And even taking us in terms of promotion out of it, for the girls themselves, that's not good enough, and that's never good enough. That they can't know on a Monday where they're going to play on the Sunday. And they probably don't know on their last training session on a Thursday. It's we hope it'll be here kind of a job. And like, look, I don't know if integration is on the path, it's coming down the line or whatever. And will that change? I don't know, because at the end of the day, it's still the same amount of fields. It's still the same amount of people looking for them. So I'm not sure how that will work. But as I said, it does add a layer of another, say, block to promotion of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, the girls themselves is one thing I think maybe we could have been overlooking there, but that's actually, forget the media, because we can dovetail our weekends as we need, But the girls, sometimes if there's girls working shift work or other commitments, the game's at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock. There can be a big difference there. Whether the bus is leaving at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., that can have a big impact on their weekend.
They have, but even for the preparation for a match, like when you think about it, so like when we're playing up north, and you have to book a hotel. You don't know where to book the hotel. You know, do you book it in the south of the county? So what we have to do is we book in the middle of the county, because they could be traveling an hour further north, or they could be kind of, you know, south. But you have to book the accommodation because you can't just book that the night before. So what should be simple logistic stuff like that, you know, becomes a nightmare because you literally don't know until, you know, the final hour, you know, kind of where things are going to be.
Yeah, and Marian, the word integration came up there, and do you think that if the integration goes as planned, and it seems to have gone a very, very cold, that word has not been seen, and certainly in the national media in the last little while, if that is ironed out as we hope it will be, and I know Mary McAleese was one of the big forerunners of it, will that help cure some of the ills of Camogie? And I say ills of Camogie, like it's the challenges that Camogie has, and ladies football has probably equal challenges too. Will we see a lot of those ironed out in the near future, or is that just hopeful thinking?
Well, I'd say the near future is probably hopeful thinking, right? But ultimately, I suppose when you have integration, I mean, all the organisations are going to be one, so everybody is going to be one. They're going to be all belonging to the same organisation. So I would imagine that the same structures in terms of how fixtures are organised, same accessibility to pitches, because the pitches then would belong to the organisation. You know, it's not and to the kind of clubs, as opposed to, look, they're GAA pitches, and you know, we're trying to get use of them, so it will belong to the organisation. So you'd imagine, and that sort of thing would have to be ironed out, you know, kind of as minimum. But I mean, as Emer identified, there's still a limited number of pitches. You know, we know in Limerick, like, you know, hurling is our be all and end all of. I mean, men's football, even in terms of for, you know, kind of pitches, or, you know, who gets kind of first dibs, you know, is challenging there, you know, less challenging obviously than what it is for Camogie or for LGFA, but it is a challenge. There's a kind of pecking order. So I imagine there'll still be somewhat of pecking order even with integration, because, you know, your more successful team tends to kind of get access to, not rightly, but it tends to be kind of reality in terms of what's happening. Like, I mean, recently we were, you know, kind of again looking for pitches, and it's a case of, well, we need to wait and see, well, who's training where, and this is before matches can be played, you know. So I'm not sure how integration is going to sort that, when you consider that's even still happening now within the GAA itself, you know, between the kind of football and the hurling.
Yeah, no, and I know I was supposed to referee a game last weekend in football, and it was called off for a hurling training session on the same venue. So, you know, that will that'll tell you, that reiterates your point that there's certainly a hierarchy there across, and clubs, you know, have full say over their own pitches overall, generally anyway. Look, we I don't want to get too bogged down in that. Looking at if we can kind of conclude on the
crucial, Tom. It is crucial.
It is. No, I'm not ignoring it. Yeah.
We either have integration or we don't have it.
Yeah.
Now, when I asked the question to Donald Fitzgibbon when he was on with us a couple of weeks ago, there seems to be a far greater desire on the part of the women's organisation for integration than there is in the GAA. And when integration is completed, and I hope it could be completed tomorrow or even this evening, if it was possible, it can come soon enough for me. There'll be only a pecking order if the women's organisation is allowed to be there. Like, and what happened with this year's county finals was a shame, an absolute shame. Emer and I left at Lacka after the semi-final between Ahan and Drummond at Lacka, or Ahan and Brough. And the two finals were fixed for McNeville Park. And suddenly they were shifted. That is a scandal. Even without integration, it shouldn't be happening.
No, I'd agree with you. And again, I'm sure Marian and Emer, you reiterate their thanks to Captain Moore, who fielded the fixtures, you know, and they did all they helped the management of them, I'm sure, as well, and they did the LGFA finals as well. So they were more than willing. But again, in fairness to Emer, you had the fixtures out early, and I said, right, there's the finals, but it didn't transpire. I would have been heading for McNeville, but then it all got reshuffled again in the diaries and all that. So yeah, look, it doesn't do much. It doesn't do much for the promotion of the game when things like that, as Matt said, continue to happen. On the field now, if I can come back to on the field matters, the senior Camogie team this year, Emer, I know you were would have been at some of those, especially the home championship games. A very testing year for the girls, I think it's fair to say. Probably had a bit of a crossroads in terms of, you know, there was a couple of quarter-final appearances, I think, in 2019 and again in 21, was it? And, you know, we've kind of probably seen the other counties have probably kicked on, and maybe now just probably needs to be a new infusion into the things in terms of Limerick, in terms of players and all the rest of it. But it was a very testing year for them. Beyond the league, was okay, but the championship was tough.
Yeah. I suppose you've hit the nail on the head there. Really, it was a testing year. Did well in the league. I suppose we went to Kerry, down to Ballyheigue. So that was my first time down there, and I was getting down there, and I was going, this is definitely not where the field is, but it was. So like we beat Kerry down and Wexford, and I suppose beating Wexford was a huge achievement. I mean, Wexford would be one of the teams that we'd be kind of, I suppose, aspiring to. But then I said the championship, between injuries and different things, it didn't go to plan. Now I will say the game that we played in McNeville to retain our status as a senior team against Antrim, I mean, was fantastic. Like, and obviously look, it's a relegation final and the girls don't want to be there, but it nearly felt like an All-Ireland at times, because there was just that need that it had to get over the line, and the girls did that. Again, I suppose we've had a couple of tough years and a couple of years where some players haven't played, and they're coming back in, and look, that's been well spoken about, I suppose, well documented. But I suppose Joe and his management now are looking towards the future, and like that, we have a 16s team that, look, they're not going to be playing senior, obviously, but we have a 16s team that have won, have experience. I think it's the experience of winning. Have experience of that big day, have experience of going in, preparing for an All Ireland, preparing for a Munster final, playing in the likes of Nolan Park, and not to harp back on, but like, we don't get into the Gaelic grounds very often. So even our senior girls playing in a stadium, shall we say, like we went down to Wexford and we played in Wexford Park, and we went to Walsh Park, and in fairness to the Waterford lads, like the crowd they had bought in Walsh Park was phenomenal. Like it felt like I was at a hurling game, and that's but that's what it was, the crowd, and afterwards, and they all knew the players and whatever. And I actually came out of Waterford going, that's what we want in Limerick. We want days like that where there's young, and not just young girls, but young boys, young girls, like adults, all proper, and I'm not, but roaring, like proper shouting, willing on the team, no matter what the score was. Like, that's what we want in Limerick. We want a following. We want a cult following, I suppose, to follow the girls through. But as I said, it has been tough. And I mean, getting to know the girls over the last three plus years, whatever, like they put their heart and soul into it. Like, nobody goes out to come home hammered, come home after hammer. Like, nobody goes out to lose, but they put in absolutely everything, and they give absolutely everything, and whatever's asked of them, they do. And the same, I'd say they're sick of seeing me at times going, will you fill out this player profile? Will you come and take a photograph here? Can I put that up? That sort of thing. But it's all for the promotion of them. But like that, it has been tough, and there has been days where, you're updating the game and you're going, like, how do you best put this, if you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
tough
like
day at the office.
The Tipperary game for this in the McNeville district, for example, is probably
and that's what it is. It's a tough day at the office. Yeah, and it's like, but look, I would be hopeful that you've got a couple of girls hopefully that'll kind of come in from that minor team that, say, got an All Ireland semi-final this year, was in an All Ireland final last year, and I mean, again, they're a good group of girls. That minor team, they're really well. They gelled well. They're Paul Neenan and Tony Dunn were fantastic with them. Katrina Duval, all of Daniel Sullivan, all of them. I'll have forgotten someone now, apologies. But all that managed team, they instilled, I think, a good work ethic in the girls and a proper work rate. And even if you're down by 20 points at 10 to go, you can get 20 points in 10 minutes. Like, that's what I got from the minors over the last 2 years, that there's a never say die attitude. Like, they will give everything. And I think Joe has been the senior management have been at all club games or senior games over this year. So they are looking out for players, players who might think they're good enough, but Joe might see something in them and bring them through. So like, I would be hopeful for 2025 to say a mix of youth and experience, shall we say, because I mean, there's some girls there who have given their life and soul to Limerick Camogie, and they owe Limerick Camogie absolutely nothing. And then there's some girls who are coming up along that, like that, they've seen the 16s win, they've seen a junior Munster final. So again, they see winning. And in the same way as promotion, it's an awful lot easier to entice a player in when you're going, look, this is the plan and this is where we aim to be. And look, we've won this and this. Like, that makes it easier. So I would be hopeful that whoever's sitting here this time next year, that it would be, you know, a bit of silverware, or not even. And look, I wouldn't even say silverware, but in a final, or reaching the possibility of a final. Like, look, we're not going to be Cork next year, and that's, you know, we're not going to be like that. But you put in place a system, I suppose, and Marian has worked really hard on that, to put in a proper system that starts with our academy and that filters the whole way through, so that when the girl gets to senior camogie, it's not a culture shock. It's not a, oh my God, what am I doing? That they've been in that system, the same as the Limerick Academy with the hurling. It's in that system. It's bred into you, shall we say. So I would be hopeful for 2025 that Limerick Camogie will hold their own. Well, I hope so. And look, I mean, if you don't have hope, you've nothing. So
yeah, fair point. No, the point about the hurling and trying to replicate, then if you look at the success Limerick hurling has had, it actually started with the guys playing minor and 21s, going to beat Cork away and Waterford and teams that
started with under 16 with Joe Quaid, Tom.
Yeah. But what I mean is those guys got into the habit of beating the big hitters, and now, as you mentioned already, the 16s, and look, we're not trying to lumber them with the pressure, but they know now how to beat a Galway jersey, a Cork jersey, Kilkenny jersey, Tip jersey. They will hold no fear as time goes on. Yes, it's going to be difficult to catch them at senior level, but I suppose they'll have the belief and the know-how in terms of that. And look, let's see what comes in the next couple of years. It's probably a case of trying to take 2 or 3 steps forward for everyone that goes back. And look, there'll be bumps in the road, but I think it's maybe a slower process. It's not going to be an overnight success. Marian, it was mentioned there, I don't know who, but maybe by a couple of you, the junior team is no more, and it's not because you've pulled them out. The Camogie Association made the decision to pursue an under-23s competition in place of junior teams. So there'll be no more second teams in the All-Ireland Championship. So we'll be kind of down to the junior, intermediate and senior championships, whatever number of counties that will entail. We'll have one team, and then we'll have the 23s. What's Limerick Camogie's thoughts on that? How does that look in your side of things?
Well, do you know what? I mean, we don't even really have enough detail to know exactly what it looks like from our side of things, right? So I suppose last year there was the kind of announcement about they're going to be a decoupling of, I suppose, second teams from the All-Ireland competitions. So like our understanding was that we'd have our senior team, and then that we'd have a junior team, but they'd be in a B competition, it wouldn't be an All-Ireland competition. And then that was pushed back on last year, and then they said, no, it'll definitely happening this year. And then this year, we went to a meeting at the start of September, and we were told that there'd be a choice between that decoupled or the kind of under 23. And the next thing that came out to us was, well, no, actually, it would be just under 23, and just under 23 championship. Or Ireland. There was no mention of a league, and so we're asking, okay, well, what does that mean? Is there going to be a league? Is there any possibility of a league? Because what do you do? With an under 23 squad just going to come in for 3 matches later on in the year. So we still don't know if there's going to be an under 23 Munster Championship. We know that there's going to be, we've been given 3 dates for the under 23 at the All Ireland level. So we don't know enough, So we've been trying to think about how do you run that under 23. So is it a case of, with seniors, we've got an under 23 and seniors, and we're going to be carrying them side by side. They're going to be training together. You have a kind of second management for the under 23s for their games. We're still looking for detail, and I think Munster fixtures, we're having a meeting. Was it last night or the night before? And I suppose that part of the discussion will happen there, in terms of what they're going to do for it. I suppose it is a concern for us, kind of huge concern. I mean, Dave Deedy and his team obviously had done a huge job in terms of building up the panel for the junior team, and getting people interested and excited, maybe wanting to play for Limerick. Some of those players, would aspire to kind of moving on. So now it's again, there's an unknown for them, in terms of how this would work, what it would look like at under 23. So the consideration about whether they want to get involved, in the absence of, the kind of information, in the absence of a solid structure, a solid year of hurling, of camogie, so knowing what it is that they're going to do. the logic behind it, I mean, you know, in terms of, I suppose, look, it's going more towards, you know, where the kind of hurling is at, where you're not having, you know, kind of all the kind of different adult grades. You've got kind of different ages, you know, so they kind of move on. I suppose, you know, you can kind of see some sort of logic in that, but I just don't think that enough time was given to kind of embed it right, and to put the structures in place so that you could kind of pare it back for there. Possibly the player charter was something that was kind of influencing this, because obviously, you know, with the player charter, what players are entitled to, like in your adult team, and obviously, like, our junior team weren't entitled to the things that were under the player charter. We tried to give them as much as possible, similar to what the senior team has, but obviously that would be a cost on us. There was no grant coming with that, and so our team were playing against other counties with their junior team, and because their junior team was their adult team, they did have that money to kind of spend on it. So whether it was that they were kind of expecting a push, you know, that we'd be looking for a similar, you know, kind of grant funding for, you know, the other adult team, because why wouldn't you? I mean, why should one team not be supported and the other team supported? But that was an impetus to kind of get it done quickly. Obviously, you had, you know, Cork winning out the intermediate this year. Like, where were they going to go? They couldn't go. There were 2 senior teams. They weren't going to be able to have that. So, I mean, there's a kind of few different things there that possibly pushed this quicker than what it really should have happened.
I know, just one sec, Matt. I know talking to the president on the night, one of the things is actually trying to grow the game. Now, some people will say that the counties that are competing at present probably some of them do need a helping hand to grow the game within their own county anyway. But there was a Merritt, I think he mentioned Louth and Donegal as 2 examples, who I don't think presently have adult teams, so that they might affiliate to the under-23s for a couple of seasons, build up a cohort of players, and then progress into the junior championships after that. But, like, I don't know, I think the fact that Limerick were presenting upwards of 55, 60 players to inter-county, I don't think there was anything wrong with that. Now, they'll probably still have the same numbers, but, you know, if you have a 24 or 25-year-old who may not be a senior inter-county player, sorry, you're done. You know, it's going to be a tough conversation for someone to have, but probably won't be a conversation. Someone will just have to realise that they're not eligible. You know, it's a difficult one to be pushing back in counties, especially when you see what it has done for counties in terms of second teams progressing young talents. Cork have used it very well. Kilkenny, Galway, Tipperary, all down the years have used their second team very, very well. And I thought it may be something to be followed. Matt, what do you think about it?
Well, basically, I don't understand this whole thing of under 23 and it being seen as a development step. Possibly that there is some element in that, and, you know, here we are now in almost the 1st of December, and we're having a new competition next year, and it goes in that beautiful place called TPC to be confirmed yet all about it, you know. But what I find preposterous altogether is we had a senior championship this year, which absolutely failed most of the counties. There was a Saturday this year when the average defeat of the 6 teams was 25 points. We were above that average. We lost by 29 to Tipperary on the same day. And the Camogie Association seen nothing wrong with it. I brought it up with the president about that particular day, and he said to me that was because the media highlighted it. The media weren't out in the field in Scots or anything like that on that day. But they highlighted what had happened. And we're going to have the same again next year. Like, I suggested to him, why don't they look at a structure, something like the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship, where you have an A and a B with a pathway to play in a quarter-final for the top 2 teams in B. At least teams would be playing at their own level. I brought him over and introduced him to Natal O'Grady, who has vast experience of the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship with Kildimo Palace Kenry, both in B and in A. You know, Marian, it's foolhardy to think that we're going to have a proper senior Camogie Championship in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I completely agree with you, Matt. I mean, I suppose when we're hoping to be competitive, unfortunately, it'll be the league we'll be hoping to be competitive with, because the reality is we're so far away from what the reality is, you know, in championship. And I completely agree with you. When you've got everybody playing against everybody, I mean, there's, you know, with all the teams there, there's a huge difference between them. And like what you said, in terms of the average, kind of beating that day, that is a reality. And it's brilliant that the media highlighted, because by highlighting it, you're kind of shining a light and kind of saying, hang on, something needs to be done. Unfortunately, it's not being grasped anytime soon, as in not next year, despite the fact that they can make fairly quick changes when they choose to make fairly quick changes. But that would be something that would be really good for teams who are developing, because then they could have really good competitive matches and kind of feel, we've got a chance on this match, and then the ones who are, who kind of come out top in terms of that kind of B competition, in terms of, being able to compete at a quarterfinal or whatever, kind of bring them in at that stage, and where they can kind of have those games as well. Absolutely, it makes so much sense. But it's not happening for next year, unfortunately. And the reality is that we will go out and we will have significant beatings, and there'll be some games that you'll kind of target, and you go, okay, because they're going to be seeding the kind of two sides of the pool, so there'll be some games that will be competitive, and I suppose that's what we'll be targeting, to be competitive on those days, and then I suppose with the other games, then it'll be a case of, okay, try to lose them less than what we lost them last year. But that's so disheartening for players, and I suppose, and that's at the end of the year. So as they've built up through the year, hopefully having kind of a successful and a competitive league, and you're getting into your stride, well, that's when you should be kind of feeling, oh, we're even more competitive here, we got a chance. And that's the disillusioning part for the players, to kind of going, we're upping our effort, upping the intensity and what's involved, and actually the result is going to be worse than, the result is going to be devastating for in some of those matches, there's no, and we don't have the power in terms of kind of protecting that or changing from that. So it is very poor, indeed.
Well, but has there been any level of consultation with the county boards? Because first of all, about the maintaining the senior championship, and secondly, about the under-23, because in my view, when I was saying it to Tom off air, and I was saying it to him yesterday, the under-23 is only going to replicate what's happening at senior. You'll have Cork, Kilkenny and Galway dominating it to the same extent.
Yeah, you will. No, in terms of consultation, so if there was consultation, it certainly wasn't with Limerick County Board. And I know that there was this kind of discussion in relation to, the competitions or the decoupling and all the rest of it last year. But when we went to that meeting above in Dublin in March, in start of September, and the other counties were in, it was news. It wasn't, and we're kind of going, hang on, is this not something that's supposed to be discussed, ratified, agreed? As opposed to it being a decision, that's kind of imposed. So I don't know in relation to why, how, where, why it was decided this year, and why it was decided to, as you said, to replicate what was going on at senior without kind of putting in different groups or kind of grading or whatever, so that we kind of see where best, how best this would work. Like there are. It is going to be a little bit more graded than in terms of where the senior is going to be at, in terms of it's going to be different groups. But again, I think the discussions should happen. Good discussion should have happened. We did give feedback, or we do give feedback in relation to, kind of championships every year and the competitions every year. We have given feedback, in relation to the senior and the, kind of change that's needed in terms of for making it competitive. But unfortunately, it's not given to any fruition yet. So far.
So what you're actually telling me is that Camogie is taking a leaf out of the GAA book and in sidelining clubs and sidelining the lesser units of the organisation, and that's what's happening. Like we'll be discussing it in a minute about the county and south conventions. It's absolutely ridiculous. But if I could turn to Emer for a minute, Emer, the Camogie Championship. And I must compliment Limerick Camogie. It was a well-run competition. But there is a problem in that probably Newcastle West have gone so far ahead of the rest, and I'm calling it as I see it.
Don't mention the final match. Come on now.
Tom and I discussed it in the context of their game with Galtier, that it was the absence of difficult games and challenging games in Limerick that militated against them when they went into Munster, because they were so near Sarsfields last year.
Yeah.
But in fairness now, and this is not disrespect to the other Camogie teams, and there are a lot of Camogie clubs, making great progress, but they have gone that couple of steps further ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, they obviously played a hand in the county final, and the less said about that, the better. But no, I mean, to watch them, and I nearly wished I was a neutral at one point, because obviously, Harran being my own club, you don't want to see your own club being beaten. But they were phenomenal on the day. I mean, probably from 1 to 15 would walk on any county panel. Like, I mean, they are top class camogie players. And the fluidity of how they play, and just I suppose they know where each other are at all points. And I mean, they were fantastic to watch, putting my club loyalties aside, I suppose. But as you said, they went on to Munster, and I thought, I did think that they'd done so well against Arches last year. I thought, okay, they're going to put it up here, and I thought they would possibly go on and win that game, but obviously they didn't. And look, I suppose you are right in a sense that the games that they had coming up to the county final probably weren't as challenging as they needed to be. Like, I suppose they were in a group with ourselves, Killeedy and Adair, which, I mean, group of death a small bit, but like, it was, when we played them out in Cooliroo and we lost by 4 points, and we were kind of going, okay, whatever, but obviously they upped to the level, and even that they're able to up at that level is phenomenal. But I don't know what we can do in Limerick in terms of the championship, because like, all the clubs are trying, but I think definitely in the last kind of couple of years there has been a small drop off in terms of teams. Like, you'd kind of be, before the games are played, you'd kind of know who's going to be in the semi-finals, and you're kind of, there's 4 teams, and you're kind of going, okay, they possibly will be in a final, and that's just the kind of way it is. Look, clubs hit success, and then they hit a drop off and whatever, but I don't know what we can do in terms of making it more competitive, but Newcastle West they're in a complete league of their own at the moment, and as they come up underage, I'm sure they're feeding into that as well. But as I said, they were phenomenal in the county final, and as I said, they played my own club, so I was hoping they wouldn't be phenomenal, but they were. But like that, then there's a huge step up to Munster, and we know that ourselves, and we won it in 18, and we went on to play in Inniscarra, and we went down to Inniscarra, and again, look, we didn't lose by an awful lot, and it was our first kind of time out of Limerick. But like that, there's a whole, again, it's a huge, massive step up. And I suppose in Limerick, we're a small county. There's 30 clubs, and Marian says only 29 of them they're not even all at that level. So we have an awful lot to do in terms of the development of the club game. But I do think there's an awful lot of work going into it, and with clubs as well. And there's an awful lot of work going into it behind the scenes. But how we're going to make it more competitive, I don't know.
Yeah, the grading has been struck fairly well. I think, Emer, now I think you're 8 in each of the first 3 grades.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that? Yeah, and like, that's probably, you don't probably any more than that at the moment. There probably isn't the depth there to sustain 10 or 12 senior teams and so on down the grades. So I suppose that's the first thing. Do you get feedback from clubs on much? I know some clubs will be quick to tell you if there's something wrong, but is there much feedback in terms of, are they happy with the structures? Are they happy with the volume of games, the program of games? I know there's, how is that going down around the county? What's your sense of it?
I suppose it depends on the age group. Like at a level, they seem happy enough. Well, they haven't said that they're unhappy, so I'm just going to take it that they are.
Yeah.
I suppose at maybe a possibility at under 16, there can be clubs don't feel they get enough games, and I suppose I think with Camogie the difficulty is that kind of once you hit 16, and if you're good enough, you're playing minor, and if you're good enough playing you're playing adult level. Whereas with the boys, and I know kind of, I suppose I'm with the J club as well, so I see it more that like with the boys at 16, they still have like minor 21, and then like there's a whole other grade for them.
There's so much more depth. You mentioned there's only 30. Is there 6?
Yeah.
There'll be 60 hurling clubs in Limerick.
There's a huge,
and a lot of them with 2 and 3 teams. Like there's way more depth, so it takes a lot longer for that 16-year-old to become a senior player. Whereas at
Camogie, at 16, as I said, if you're good, if you're anyway half decent, you're going up to minor, you're going up you're a
Might
sub
play in the junior team or on the senior team.
On the junior
depending
team,
on the
if
group,
your club has 2 adult teams, you are playing. That's where we hit issues with fixtures, because you're trying to get the 16s played, but then you've got county 16 and county minor, and county managers obviously don't want their girls playing club games when they've got a county game coming up 4 or 5 days later, and then clubs are saying, hold on a second now, you wouldn't have the player if it wasn't for us, so we get first dibs. And then the player at 16 is going, well, obviously I want to play at my club, but like I want to go out and play Waterford at the weekend as well, so
they'll play them all. They'll play them all 5 days a week.
And they would, they'd play them 5 days a week, and they're like, sure, look, I'll recover when I'm 80. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't, there's no, as a 16-year-old, you are going to want to play everything, and I suppose it's the adult's responsibility to be like, no, hold on, this is what needs to be done. So I think that's probably where you hit an issue with fixtures. And I mean, look, our minors haven't even started yet. It's starting first, say the A's are starting next weekend. So it's trying to fit it all in, and to give girls who aren't on county squads game time, and to give girls who are on county squads their time to play in county. Like it's a balancing act. And I mean, I wouldn't for a month of Sundays be on a fixtures committee, because it's impossible to keep everybody happy. But I think the clubs are happy enough overall. Well, as I said, they haven't told me that they're not, so I'm going to go naively anyway.
They do give feedback. Sorry, Matt. They do give feedback. I mean, obviously it's county board in terms of when fixtures come out and stuff like that. I mean, certainly they want more. Want more matches. But I suppose the difficulty in terms of that, like you're trying to kind of balance it. If you do it across 2 groups, obviously they're getting less matches. You can get semi-finals and finals. Whereas if you put it in one group, then you've got so many games. The reality is, like, again, when it comes down to pitches, our year is shortened. Since the start of last year, I mean, there was nothing. There was no fixtures kind of starting. You were already on back matches, like for your first month. And in terms of trying to find them, the other thing is, in relation not being able to kind of schedule matches around, kind of exams and state exams and whatever, kind of split season. Where do you kind of where do you fit in stuff? The year just isn't long enough. And I suppose in Limerick we've got this kind of arrangement with the LGFA, obviously to support the dual players as much as possible. So you're kind of like alternating weekends. So realistically, when you take out every second weekend, and then you take out the time at the start and the end of the year where pitches are unplayable or inaccessible, you can't get them. You've actually got quite a short year to be able to kind of work through the groups. And I suppose that's why we're putting together we've put together a committee that's going to be able to look at where can you fit the competitions, because the poor minors, I mean, it's a blitz format. It's essentially 2 days. They get to play their blitz day and they get to play a final day. And while some of those players have been involved with their senior teams, and they'll have game times there, there are other players who haven't. So you try and want to be fair to them as well, but at the moment that's not working. So you're kind of looking at what can be done, but it's a huge challenge.
Yeah. Actually, taking up that very point which we briefly discussed off air, like that, the imperative to get the minor championship into the schedule, to bridge the gap. They have no alternative but to go from 16 to adult in the absence of a minor structure being. Now it's nobody's fault, because there is so much. There are so many competitions and so many, and as you say, the alternating weeks with the LGFA and all that. But it for a proper pathway for players and to retain players, it's absolutely essential that the under 18 is fitted in, is slotted in.
Oh, absolutely, and slotted in, in a meaningful competition, where they're going to get the games, and if that means, kind of looking at a kind of a split, minor where you've got a couple of rounds of earlier on in the year and a couple more rounds later on in the year. I mean, if that's what we need to kind of look at and doing, we're going to have to do it so that they have kind of enough games. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, Matt, anything else we need to cover? I know they have another meeting to go to as well.
I'm finished actually, but before I finish, we had a great night on Sunday week last in the Woodlands, and thanks to the Woodlands again, absolutely fantastic supporters of women's sport. But the night was tempered a bit when Miss Kenny informed me that she's going to be stepping down as PRO. So, I was absolutely shocked and still shocked, because we had such a good working relationship over the last couple of years. Like, you just cannot, I just cannot explain the amount of work that that Emer has contributed to Limerick Camogie. And I think you'll agree with me, Marian. You know,
Oh, Matt, we're absolutely devastated that Emer is going. But you know what?
a special person. What?
She's huge, and you know she's done so much, and she's invested so much. I mean, such enthusiasm, and you know, I mean, professionalism, and all the rest of it, and the kind of kind of steep learning curve, and trying to bring it. But I suppose you know part of it goes to the reality. I mean, I felt so sorry for Emer over time in terms of pretty much doing it solitary. It's trying to get volunteers who'd be a committee that would be able to kind of provide support. When this job, I mean, the PRO for Limerick Camogie, it was consuming her life. I mean, more than her work, more than her family, more than whatever. And you kind of go, it's just such a shame. And I suppose I feel so bad that we weren't able to kind of build a committee around her so that you know she'd have had loads of support. But trying to get volunteers is, you know, it's really difficult. I mean, we don't even have a PRO. Nobody was nominated or coming forward for PRO next year even. So we don't know where we're at. And I suppose that's part of
her arm be twisted.
Oh, we've been at it. She's on a countdown.
They've been twisting it, Matt. They've been fully around her back.
They've been twisting it and every other sort of thing. But no, unfortunately. And I don't blame her because, I mean, you have to have a life as well. And there's kind of so much that you can give. And she's given hugely for the last couple of years. And obviously, we'd have her back in a heartbeat at any time, in any way. And we do really want to thank her because it's huge. And the clubs, you know, have been so appreciative of it. You know, of all the work that she has done and what she's, you know, achieved. But yeah, no, we're devastated.
Yeah. Emer, from the bottom of my heart, sincere thanks for everything you've done. Absolutely sincere thanks. Believe you me, you don't know how you make our job so much easier.
Well, I can tell you, I can tell you, Emer, as someone who does it for my soccer club, and I did it for a year for the Desmond League Soccer. I tell you, it's an impossible task to keep it all up when you're trying to promote fundraisers. This team, that team, the other team. You had 16s, junior, minor. You had all the clubs to be promoting. You had to be thanking sponsors. You had to be doing this and that, putting up teams, putting up results, putting up half times, full time, all the tweets across multiple platforms because that media space is growing and growing. And I think maybe when they said there was Blue Sky was launched, you probably said that'll do me now. I get away before we have to launch a Limerick Camogie on Blue Sky. But it is a very thankless task. It is great reward when you see the days when you're, you know, when all you needed to put up as champions and everyone knows what you're talking about. I'm sure they're great days, but there is, you know, going to Antrim and going to wherever it is, Carlow or Kerry or Ballyhigh, you know, as you said, you're trying to even find a pitch. Yeah, all of these venues that you need to get to keep a consistent profile online and all that, and keeping us informed. We like it is. I fully understand the role. I probably never got into it as much as you did, but I can see how, you know, it would certainly consume you more than maybe you'd appreciate than you would have ever liked, you know. But congratulations on a great innings and big boots to fill. But hopefully, Marian, you'll find someone who has just the enthusiasm to match Emer there into the new year. So, ladies, we must thank you.
Emer, and what you're doing.
Thank you, and I appreciate everything that you have done. As I said, I mean, look, it's not easy, but you're always at the end of the phone, and you always give the promotion. Like, it's fantastic. And for anyone that is listening that does want the job, it's very, very easy, and it's no problem. And please, because look, the girls deserve the promotion.
Yeah,
and I know, as I suppose as a female in sport, I know that like they don't get enough of it, and any bit of promotion you give them is fantastic, and that's why I took on the job, because they need someone to champion them. Look, they do it on the field, but they need someone to then be like, look what we've done. This is what we're capable of. So it's been a pleasure. Look, it's been tough work at times, but no, I mean, I've enjoyed my 2 years and say 3 years nearly on the board. But as I said, it's time to go back to the stand and not have people ask me the score or how long is left or, you know, any of that. But yeah, no, I do.
You'll find it very hard not to be taking the score now and not to be, you know, it's very hard habit to break. I was at a game recently when I had no role at all, and there I was, pen and paper, phone in hand, very hard habit to break. Marian Quinn, the chairperson of Limerick Camogie, Emer Kenny, outgoing PRO, we thank you very much for your time this evening. We've really gone over where we thought we would. We discussed plenty there. Congratulations on the successes on the field and indeed off the field. Hopefully 2025 is an even greater success for Limerick Camogie.
Thanks very much, ladies. Enjoyed your company.
Okay, Slán go fóill. Okay. Yeah, thanks indeed to Marian and Emer for joining us. Yeah, Matt, some plenty to be discussed there, you know, on and off the field.
Absolutely, you know, and like there is a pool of talent there, a phenomenal pool of young talent there at the moment, and like you'd really like to see that they have a pathway, to make it to senior camogie, but it saddens me when the powers that be cannot see their way that that the senior championship, inter-county senior championship, as presently structured, is not fit for purpose. And the only reason it was highlighted about the 6 games and the 25 points average losing margin was because the 6 of them happened in the one day. But
one afternoon, the space of 2 hours or whatever it was.
But in any given Saturday, Tom, there's 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of those type of results.
There is, some weeks you'll end up with a Waterford versus Kilkenny or Cork and Galway, and that will be the main focus of the narrative, because you'll see, you'll see a 2 teams very much neck and neck. But look, it's disappointing. I think if we could rewind 50 podcasts, I'm going to say best part of the word I used for Limerick Camogie this time last year was consistency. So hopefully now we get a consistent run of players from that 16th team into the subsequent teams, 23s and all the rest of it, and a consistent application of even people have to feel that there's a consistency of approach, consistency of message, and that has been the issue sometimes, maybe, hasn't it? Where there's been great strides made on and off the field, and people withdraw or move away for whatever reason, and then you're starting afresh again, blank canvas, and it's challenging. So if we can get a continuation and a consistency of who's involved, I think we'll see the building blocks put in place, and hopefully success is only around the corner at senior level. Now, success there might be getting back to a quarter-final or a semi-final, and who knows after that. But we've seen it's been done by the likes of Waterford. They've made their way to the biggest day, so it's never too far out of grasp. Right, Matt, we've plenty of covered so far, but a couple of other items we were looking to discuss on this week's show.
There's just one thing that I attended the Southboard convention last night, and I attended my first Southboard convention in 1970, but I haven't attended them all in the meantime. Patrick English has of Galtee Gales has attended 45 in succession without a break. But I have nothing like that. But it was very disappointing. We have the East on Monday, the South last night, the West tonight, the City tomorrow night, the County Board next week. No contest in any of the 5. Worse still, Tom, no notice of motion.
Yeah, now a notice of motion, Matt, is not a phrase that I'm as accustomed to as you. So that's effectively a rule change or a change of policy or practice, or
a change of policy, a change of structure.
Right.
When I started going to these conventions first, and now they'll say he's that old fogey, he should move on. We spend hours in Sexton Street. I think there was over 50 motions at one convention.
Right.
But everything was being discussed.
One for every. So you're telling me everything is sorted and all is good. So since we went from 50 to 0,
and we'll all live happily ever after. And you go out to the first match and somebody is complaining about this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, and I know, Matt, that
you're
was
listening to it as well, Tom, and don't say you're not, because you are.
No. Yeah, no. I'd say you probably
all the time. Yeah. I have a stock answer for them. You have a convention. Go back to your club convention.
Certainly, yeah. And
now we're and Frank Reedy announced last night that there's going to be 2 meetings in the county. Listen to this: 2 meetings in the county,
right?
To discuss the structures of the championships for the coming year. They're usurping the authority of convention.
But sorry, 2 meetings. Who's at these meetings?
What standing within the GA have they?
Are these county board meetings or meetings for clubs to come to, or what?
Clubs coming together and giving their views to the CCC.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and what competitions are we talking? All competitions in
All
terms of
competitions, I
adult
understand.
and 20s and minor, and what
Yeah.
way we want to approach and playing
Yeah.
football and hurling together or whatever it is. Yeah.
But you
Okay,
see,
yeah.
emotions, and I wouldn't blame clubs to a certain degree. You take a motion to the South Convention that might be originally that might eventually be for Congress. Get it passed at your South, get it passed at your county, and send it up to Congress. And what happens? There's an unelected body in Croke Park to vet notices a motion, whether they should go on the floor or not.
Okay.
And we call it democracy, and we call it that we're concerned with the grassroots, and that we're concerned with the primacy of the clubs.
Yeah.
You don't tie up, Tom.
Yeah, no,
I appeal to the clubs again to stop accepting this kind of stuff. Stop it.
Yeah. Well, the
Please,
ladies
please
mentioned
stop it.
the ladies mentioned the word volunteers, and I think that is the problem too. Clubs do not have the volunteers that they're even at this time of year. Volunteers in a lot of clubs, they're beaten down. They've been on the go since February and March, with various teams in various different parts of their club, and now they just do. I really want to bring more work upon myself. That sometimes it can bear down. Yeah.
Absolutely no sense. We have 5 conventions in the space of 10 days.
And
we're going to have 2 meetings in the new year to do the work of what the conventions should be doing.
Yeah, well, that makes
Pure
no sense to
nonsense.
me now. Yeah.
They're only caucuses.
Yeah. The days of the boards having a significant, I suppose, place in the calendar seems to have gone. They've obviously lost a lot of their championships and structures, and Junior B is disappearing from their grasp in time as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah, but that's only part of it. But why haven't we motions for county convention?
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised there wasn't a few there because
the debate about the future of division boards is a separate issue.
Yes, it is.
Like all it does for me, Tom, is it marks the total disengagement of the clubs with the process.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Yeah, no, I think clubs have, as you say, have disengaged. They're not. I suppose they're not putting their head above the parapet, as it were, that they once would have. When they saw issues, there are plenty of issues. And we've been critical ourselves, maybe, of different items around the county in terms of fixtures. On one day, the removal of the program was another one that a lot of people said to me, why is the match program gone from the hurling championships and it only reappeared in the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
Little items like these, there's no good coming crying to Sam and Matt about it. We can't change it.
No. If they come to crying to Matt, anyway, they have a stock answer.
Yeah.
Until they get tired of hearing it, but
go through your club to the board. Yeah.
Go to the county board, put in a motion that there should be proper programs, weekend programs from the first round of the senior hurling championship, and indeed from the first round of the senior football championship.
Yeah.
That there should be weekend programs like there was in 2023.
Yeah, there was
quite simple. And any of the people that cribbed, and by God, there was enough of them cribbing about it.
Bucket loads of them, I think there was. Yeah. We'd have filled the stand in McNeville Park, I'd say, with the amount of people we met. Would have had complaints.
Even a long shot at filling the Hogan stand.
Right. Anything else we need to discuss? I think we've covered plenty there.
Next week, we want to wish John the Baptist the best of luck. They have been drawn against St. Flannan's, the most successful school in the Harty Cup. They've been drawn against them at the preliminary quarterfinal stage.
Yeah.
At one of those that excellent venue, TBC.
Right. Yeah, that'll be probably Monday morning before we know where that is. Good chance. I have a sneaky feeling UL will be the letters that'll change. So
would be a likely target for it. Yeah. But I get a certain amount of this because of availability of pitches with adverse weather and everything. At this time of the year, there has to be an element of latitude on that. But we wish him the best of luck. They got through in second place despite losing to CBC because Doon lost to Rice College the same day, so it gave them an avenue. But when they got into the preliminary quarter final last year, they beat Our Ladies of Templemore.
Yeah,
and then really put it up to Art School Reach. You were with me at it, Tom.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. That was John.
Oh,
I
was it
missed that
done?
one.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. But Ardscoil Reach are waiting in the Ardscoil Reach are in the quarterfinals. They're in the last 8. So
They're in the last 4 because they finished top of a 4. What happened was that there were 3 groups of 4, and the top school in each of those 3 went directly to the quarterfinal. Then there was 3 groups of 3, and there was a draw between the 3 schools that finished top of those, and St. Flannan's and I think Blackwater missed out because Middleton were drawn to go direct to the quarterfinal proper.
Yeah, so they're true. Yeah, so we'll know who it'll be next Wednesday. That's down for, and we'll see how John the Baptist
1:30 is the time at TBC.
Yeah, good chance it'll be well, as I say. But Munster Post Primary School site will have the details in due course, and I'm sure the school will be promoting it themselves. Okay, Matt, we're wishing them the best of luck, and we also, of course, as we said already, Mungret St. Paul's ladies all the best in their trip up to Coolora in the All Ireland semi final.